Welcome back to the JDW Sports Talk Show. In today's episode, we will be discussing whether or not I think the Indianapolis Colts are Super Bowl contenders. So, I'm just going to, go through the roster a little bit, and talk about some of the positions I like the most, some of the players I like the most, some underrated players, and our chances to possibly go to the Super Bowl and win it. I think our chances are, they're up there. We have some of the better chances, but, we still have some work to do. We definitely still have some work to do. So if you go, first we're going to start the quarterback position. The newly acquired Carson Wentz from the Philadelphia Eagles for a conditional second, which can turn to a first, and a third for this year. And that conditional pick is for next year. I'm excited to see what's going to go on with Carson Wentz. We all know his situation in Philly was not ideal. His offensive line was hurt, banged up, very poor. He was hit like 60 sometimes. Running backs were okay. Miles Sanders, he's a good receiving guy. Tight ends were hurt a lot. You have Dallas Goedert, Richard Rodgers, Richard Rodgers was actually one of the more underrated tight ends last year, if you ask me. But and then you go to receivers, Jalen Reagor, Deshaun Jackson got hurt again, even though he returned. Greg Ward. Those aren't really guys that that you really want as your lead guys. Jalen Reagor, former first-round pick, he's okay, but what I'm trying to get at here is Carson didn't have a supporting cast at all, and on top of that, the head coach did not like him. It's not that he really didn't like him; it's just that the head coach wasn't willing to work with him. Doug Peterson was not willing to work with him. He wasn't willing to, help him get better. He just kept putting him out there, expecting him to, play amazing. He was very, very disrespectful at times towards him. The whole Eagles organization was. Even the fans, gave him some hard times. But him getting hurt that year, they won the Super Bowl, and Nick Foles stepping in and coming in and winning that Super Bowl, definitely caused some tension between Wentz and the coaching staff and such. That's gonna happen most likely. And Frank left. That could have also been, a reason. But, he's back with Frank Reich. He has a much better supporting cast in Indy. An awesome offensive line. Just still got to figure out the left tackle. Some great receiving guts at tight end. Good receivers. And an awesome running back group that Carson Wentz can come in and, utilize straight away. I'm really excited to see what Carson Wentz has in store with the Colts returning with Frank Reich. Excited to see that. And then like I said, the offensive line is crazy. You got Quentin Nelson, who's an amazing dude. Amazing guard. You have Ryan Kelly, who is a really solid center. You have Mark Lewinsky, who is who is a mauler in the run game. Run blocking is definitely his strength. He's still a really solid pass blocker, but nowhere near as his run blocking. And then you go to Braden Smith, one of the most underrated players in the whole NFL. Braden Smith, he's very underrated. He did come out as a guard, but then the Colts had some injuries and they shifted some people around, and they found that right tackle was Braden Smith's strength, and Braden Smith has really outperformed himself at right tackle. He's not talked about enough. Maybe he'll make a Pro Bowl within these few upcoming years. It's deserved. He's a really awesome player. One of the most underrated right tackles in the league, if you ask me. And then we're going to talk about the running backs. If you look at that running back group, it's stacked. It's a stacked room. You have the rookie sensation from last year in Jonathan Taylor, who ran for 1,000 yards and had a few amazing games, and then he had that big run versus Jacksonville, which sealed it up. And gave us that playoff berth. And then he had some great games throughout the season. He did start a little slow, but after he had some time in the league, after he had some time to catch up. Especially no offseason, it was very difficult for, everyone, especially Philip Rivers, because he didn't know a damn thing about his receivers and how they play. So it was rough, especially with no offseason, but, he eventually did settle in. He did start playing really well, and those fumbling concerns were kind of put to rest. Even though he did fumble versus the Ravens, that was a little scary, and that really changed the game, but at the same time, he had a really good season, and he won a few games for us. He really was a reason that we won a few games. He was really good. And then you go to Nyheim Hines, who had a great year last year. Nyheim Hines, he was a very versatile back. He came in once in a while. He had those amazing route catches. He had that game versus the Lions where he caught that wheel route. And he went up the sideline, made a few guys miss, and he did that cartwheel and such. That was awesome. Yeah, Nyheim Hines is a really awesome gadget player. He's fast. He could catch. He could run. Give him some space and just give him the ball however you can, and he's gonna make a play. And then you have your guy in Marlon Mack, who's coming back off of the injury. He's coming back on a cheap deal. I think this is a business decision for him. He's gonna come back and he's gonna try and have a really good year and prove that he still has it to cash in next year and get a bigger contract next year. Because coming back from an Achilles tear is not easy at all. Coming back from any injury is not easy at all, no matter what. But Achilles is one of the harder ones. It's one of the more difficult ones. But in today's age, where they're so good and they're so knowledgeable and everything, the medics, I think he'll be okay. I'm not gonna say he's gonna come back from it easy. He's not. There's no way. But I'm just saying, with the more that they know, they kind of know more and they kind of know how to help the person more. Everyone is different, but they know how to help everyone more because of all the research and technology they've come out lately. It's insane, but it's awesome to see that they can help players more since I know more in depth about that stuff. But when Matt's gonna come in, he was a great running back for a few years, and he's definitely has had some durability issues, but he's very elusive. His ball carrying vision is elite. His stiff arm is elite. And I'll never forget in his rookie season when he put Jadeveon Clowney in the dirt. That was awesome. I'm just really happy, with this running back group. And then I almost forgot to talk about Jordan Wilkins. Jordan Wilkins is majorly underappreciated. Jordan Wilkins, he's not really a starter. He's not a great starter because nor is Nyheim Hines. As we saw in that Titans game when JT went down, Hines and Wilkins, they weren't really able to, handle the load, even though they were still really solid. But JT, that showed when JT was out that JT had a huge play in the offense. He had a huge role. So, that's one of the things there, and Jordan Wilkins, he's a solid change of pace guy. He's a solid guy, get 3-4 carries a game, sometimes once in a while 5, if that. Come in and get a few yards, a change of pace back. He has a really high run per carry average. He has like 5.9 or something like that. It's really high. I think it's even higher than that. Probably like 1 or 2 higher than that, to be quite honest with you. Because every time he comes in, if you bring him 2, 3, 4 plays a game, he really shows that he could be a really solid runner. And he gets some big plays. But at the same time, when you put him in, for 15 to 20 carries, he's not, he's just not that kind of guy. He come in 3 or 4 snaps and make a difference. And then you go to the wide receiver core. The wide receiver core is really solid as well. You have the rookie sensation of Michael Pittman Jr., who had a really good solid year last year. The leg injury did hold him back, but one thing that people are forgetting to mention is that in the Colts' 3 biggest games last season, versus the Titans, versus the Packers, and versus the Bills, arguably the 3 biggest games, who showed out the most in those 3 games? Michael Pittman Jr. It kind of seems, the brighter the light, the brighter he becomes and the brighter he shines, and, the better he becomes. I'm really excited to see him and see what he's going to do this year, and I think he's really going to have a huge step up. And, he's been a really good wide receiver, and he had a really good rookie year in those 3 big games. And he played his best those three big games, which is huge. It shows something. It shows that the more pressure he faces, the better he's going to be. And that's what you love from a young player. And then you go to guys like Paris Campbell, your T.Y. Hiltons, your Zach Pascals, your Ashton Dulins, your DeMichael Harrises, your Mike Strachan's, your Tyler Vaughn, all those guys, that's a pretty good receiver group if you ask me. Paris Campbell has had really bad luck in his career so far, can't stay on the field, but when he's on the field, even the tiny bit he was on the field, he was electric. He was an extremely solid player, and then you go and talk about Zach Pascal, who was a very high-end, number 3, number 2 maybe at times, But he's not the greatest of ones. But he could really get it done at number 2 or number 3. He's not really a slot guy though. To be quite honest, he's more of a boundary guy. But nonetheless, he can play anywhere. He's just better on the boundary. A real extremely solid depth piece, and then T.Y. Hilton, he's definitely getting up there in age. I think he's losing his legs a little bit. Last year when he caught the ball and he was running after catch, he wasn't as nearly as fast. He really wasn't. He didn't seem as fast, But nonetheless, he has an amazing veteran presence. Colts Nation loves him. Happy to see him and that he's coming back. I'm really happy to see him coming back. He's gonna make a difference. Excited to see him and see what he's going to bring to this Colts team. And then you have, your Zach. Yeah, I already talked about Zach Pascal. You have your I talked about the top 4 guys. And then you have your guys. Desmond Patman. I forgot to mention. Desmond Patman, Ashton Doolin, DeMichael Harris, Mike Strawn, Tyler Vaughn from USC, our undrafted guy. I was kind of surprised that he went undrafted. He's a really solid guy. And then you have our DeMichael Harris, who is actually kind of our Curtis Samuel, and Nyheim Hines a bit. They could, line up in the slot. They're very versatile. They could go anywhere. People were saying sign Curtis Samuel, but I think these 2 guys are our Curtis Samuels. I think these 2 guys can really, come in and be a very versatile piece, a very solid depth piece. Come in and make some big plays once in a while. Des Patwin, I really don't have too high hopes for him. I really don't, because a few times last year when the injury on the receivers really started piling up, he was never really called up. And there has to be something that Frank doesn't like, that Chris doesn't like. There has to be something about him that they're just not ready to put him in there yet. Maybe this year he does become ready and he wins the last spot for receiver. But I think it's so crowded that it's unlikely right now. You have another guy in Ashton Doolin who, I'm not really too high on him, but when he does come in, he gets a few catches every season, maybe 10, 15 catches, if that, every season, but, he comes in and makes a few plays a year. But yeah, I'm excited for the guys like Mike Strawn and Tyler Vaughn to come in and compete for that last spot, probably. Excited to see them come in. Tyler Vaughn, he had a really good career in USC. Surprised that dude did not get drafted. And then you have your guy Mike Strawn, who is a very small school guy from Charleston. Big body guy, big body wide receiver. He can go up and make those big body catches. He can go up and make those contested catches. I think the biggest reason why he dropped is because of the school he played at. He played versus a lesser competition, very small, much smaller guys compared to him. So it was and it is very difficult to make those jumps. But we've seen Kenny Moore do it. We've seen plenty of times people come from extremely small schools, but they come out and they play really well. Carson Wentz is from a really small school. I'm just excited to see all these guys compete and come in and compete for a wide receiver spot. Especially these young guys, and they definitely got a shot to make the roster, make this Colts a better team. And then we're gonna go to the defense side of the ball. We have we're gonna start in the front. Then we're going to make our way back to the safeties, but, we're going to talk about, DeForest Buckner. I'm not really going to spend too much time on him because we already know what he is. We already know he's an amazing dude, and he really made a difference on this team last year. He was kind of the engine of the team last year. He kind of, really made that defense really good, and, that defense, really drove this team for quite some time when, the first half of the season, the offense was really struggling. I'm really excited to see what the defense has in store. DeForest Buckner is the engine. As we've seen last year when he went out versus, Tennessee, that game was pretty bad. And, so excited to have him on our side. And then you have your guy in Big Grove, which he is very underrated, if you ask me. Big Grove, he's an extremely solid run stopper, with some really solid pass rush upside. I'm excited to see him come in and work every day and make those big stops on, third and shorts, second and shorts, first and short, fourth and short, whatever it is. First and short, probably not likely at times. It's first down. Unless you get like a false start and it's 5 yards, but that's still medium. But you get what I mean. I'm really excited to see what this, defensive line has, because this defensive line is really good, because then you have, your edge rush, which is immensely improved. You have your guy in Kwity Paye, You have your guy in Deo Agdengbo. You have your guy in Kamoko Ture, Ben Banogu. Al-Qadi Muhammad could come in, and he's going to compete for that spot as well, you know. And you know, Al-Qadi Muhammad could play in the middle. Actually, I forgot a guy in Taekwon Lewis. He is a very versatile guy as well. He could play on the outside, he can play on the inside. But, you know, all those guys outside of Quiddy and Deo, you know, Ben, Kimoko, Al-Qadi Muhammad, Taekwon Lewis, most of them have had effort issues, and Ben Banogu and Taekwon Lewis mostly. That's why Ben Banogu hasn't really seen the field a lot, because, you know, if you're not going to work hard in practice, then Frank and Chris don't really want him playing in the games. It's just how the Colts run. You know, and then you have, you know, your guys in, you know, Deo and Quiddy, the young guys who are going to come in and really hopefully make a big difference. You know, Quiddy Pay, I think he's kind of a Jabal Sheard with more pass rush upside. You know, he's a really solid run stopper. He's going to come in and be an amazing run stopper day one. But he definitely has to work on his pass rush a little bit. He's a little raw in his pass rush. He's a little raw in general. But, you know, he'd come in and learn from this Colts defensive coaching guys. And, you know, I think he'd come in and be decent. You know, I'm expecting, you know, maybe 5-6 sacks his first season. And if more, amazing. But, you know, I don't know if his passing ability is there right now. You know, it will get there. He'll learn. But, you know, and then you have your guy in Deo who you draft. You know, I think Deo can be an extremely solid guy. You know, it's kind of like that Julian Blackmon situation from last year. You know, the only difference is that, you know, if someone gets hurt, you know, say a guy like Quiddy gets hurt, or say a guy like anyone gets hurt, you know, he's not going to be able to come in day one or week two like Julian did for Malik, you know, because he tore his Achilles, you know, even though that's a serious injury as well as ACL, you know, he's just not going to be ready when it comes week 1 or week 2 or week 3, you know. It's probably going to be like halfway through the season, maybe early November, mid-November, maybe late October for lucky. You know, I'm excited to see him come in and compete, though. You know, he's a monster. He's 6'5", 285. His wingspan is in the 99% quartile range. He is crazy. But yeah, I'm excited to see what this Colts team is going to have in store as well. You know, and then you go to the linebackers. You know, you did lose Anthony Walker. You know, which kind of stinks, but, you know, he was an amazing run stopper. He had amazing character, but at the end of the day, you know, he really struggled in pass coverage, and he was liability in pass coverage. You know, you love his character, and you want to keep him around just for that. But, you know, this football game is a cruel game. You know, you can't be scared to get better. You can't be scared to move on and get better. Something that Darius Leonard and the linebacker group is going to take a hit from it. You know, they probably, you know, they will a little bit in the run aspect maybe. You know, but, you know, Darius Leonard and Bobby Okereke are going to have a cover. You know, it's not going to, you know, make it hard on them. You know, Darius Leonard is going to be even more hung like always. Darius Leonard is never fully, so he always wants to go out there and compete and play. You know, he's never going to be satisfied, never, and that's what we love about the guy like that. And then you know, you have a guy Bobby Okereke who is a much quieter guy. You know, you see Darius Leonard on Twitter a lot, always talking. You know, but Bobby Okereke is kind of opposite. You know, he's a little quiet. You don't hear much from him. You know, he's a hard worker. He's going to come in and work hard every day, just like Leonard. You know, and then outside of those two, you know, you have your Bobby Okereke, or no, you have your Jordan Glasgow's, you have your EJ Speeds, you know, you have your Zer Franklin's, there's another guy I'm thinking of, Matthew Adams, you know, who are all four of those guys I just mentioned are extremely solid special teams players, you know. Excited to see them come in, and the newly acquired Malik Jefferson, who is going to be a solid, you know, guy that's going to come in and be a special teams player, and who can also, you know, work for a backup spot, you know, because outside of, you know, Leonard and Okereke, there's not much experience there at the linebacker situation. You know, there's not much experience. Jordan Glasgow, he's at very limited snaps. Same way EJ Speed. Same way, you know, Matthew Adams and Zer Franklin has been in a little longer. So, you know, they have a little more experience and they're really solid guys. But, you know, they're amazing special teams guy. You kind of want to keep them there for now. Really happy to see where they're going and where they're at. You know, they're all really hardworking guys who are going to come in and work every day. And then you have the cornerbacks, and the cornerbacks are really solid. You know, you have the re-signed guy in Xavier Rhodes. I'm happy he's back. The Rhodes stay closed. The only thing that scares me about him a little bit is that, you know, he kind of gets nicked up at times. He kind of gets that nicked up once in a while, and it kind of scares me. You know, even if he goes out like a play or two, it could be the difference of the game. You know, as we've seen in Buffalo, when Xavier Rhodes went out, he did it all season kind of, where he kept getting nicked up and he kept going out, and it really seemed serious, but he came back. But in that Buffalo game where where he like struggled, where he went out and TJ Carey came in to come in for him, and within those 2-3 plays, Stephon Diggs beats TJ Carey for a touchdown. And, that just proves right there that you want to be liable and you want to be a guy that's on the field a lot. I love Xavier. He's awesome when he's on the field. He just has to work on, stay on the field a little better, because that's a big problem with him right now. But then you have your guy, Rocky Sin, not really your guy yet. He still really has a lot of learning to do. He's very inconsistent. He's very grabby, a little too grabby. He does draw a lot more flags than you'd like. So, that's kind of a problem with him. He has to get more consistent, and he has to find some footing. He's a little inconsistent right now, and he's kind of lost all of his confidence, and you can see it in his body language. Just a guy that really needs some fire in his eyes, and a guy that I think this is a little break in the video, but I kind of think Richard Sherman would be an awesome guy to bring on this roster, and he has that fire in his eyes. Some people will say that he's toxic for a locker room, but he's really not. He's just competitive, and he loves the game of football, and he's going to come in and he's going to work really hard. That's a guy you kind of want in the locker room. Rocky Sin really needs a guy like that to really, bring a fire in his eyes and get Rock pumped. Xavier Rhodes, he's an awesome dude, but he's not really that guy like Richard Sherman is. Richard Sherman, he has his heart on his sleeve, and he's going to show it, and he's going to be a guy that's going to show that he loves the game of football. He's going to show it. He's going to yell at you. So excited to see him. He could also help a guy in the likes of Marvell Tell, who had some really bad moments his rookie season. We were excited to see him year 2, but he opted out, which kind of sucked. So that sucked to see him opt out. And then you have a guy who you resigned, TJ Carey, who was an extremely solid depth guy. Came in when things were rough, and he played pretty good. And then you have your Isaiah Rodgers, who stepped in a little bit last year. It wasn't really much. It was a few plays, but showed the ability to maybe cover Stephon Diggs a little bit. He has really good speed. He can really keep up with anybody. So, really happy with that with our cornerback group. Our cornerback group can make big differences. But some of them are unproven. So I think a guy like Richard Sherman could come in and maybe make a difference in that aspect of our team. And then you have our safety group. You have Julian Blackmon, who came in last year. No one thought he was going to be in until like mid-October, late October. Comes in week 2, and he shines like a star, and he's amazing. Down the stretch, he did struggle a little bit, but he came in as a rookie, and he was really good. And then you go over to strong safety and Kari Willis, Kari Willis, however you pronounce it, but he's a really good safety. Maybe not like a very flashy safety, but he's not scared to come up and make a tackle. He's not scared to come up and hit. Really solid guy who's going to make a difference. He's very underrated. And then you have your guy in Sean Davis, who you just drafted. A guy in Sean Davis, excited to see what he has. He's. I'm not going to say he is Bob Sanders. I'm not putting him in those big shoes, but I think he kind of plays like him. He kind of reminds you of him. He's always flying around, and he loves playing the game, and he's always making these big hits. Really excited to see what he has in store. And then you have your guys in George Odoms. Excited to see him. He's resigned. He's an All-Pro for special teams. He was awesome for special teams. And that's all we really have to talk about today. Like a little summary. Edge rush improved. Cornerback is still not really much better. It's kind of the same as last year. We have very young safeties. The defense line is young and has a lot of potential. You have your guy in DeForest Buckner and Grove plug and runs up the middle. And then on offense you have very young receivers who have a lot of potential. You have a guy in Paris Campbell who's young, guy in Zach Pascal who's an amazing depth piece, and you have a guy in T.Y. Hilton, your veteran guy, could really be a big difference maker. I know he's an amazing route runner. Just a really good team, a really good young team, and you have your guy in Carson Wentz, your young quarterback that you're bringing in to reunite with Frank Reich. Hopefully he makes a difference, and all the amazing offensive line and the amazing running backs and tight ends he has around him. I'm really excited to see what this team has in store for next season. We are definitely improved. We just really have to fill in that left tackle void. You know, I'm excited to see what Chris Ballard has in play for that. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on the Colts roster. And do you think that the Colts are Super Bowl contenders? Maybe, maybe not. You know, the AFC is extremely freaking competitive. That's the hard thing of it. So, you know, but I think Chris Ballard has put the team capable of going to the Super Bowl and going on a championship run. But, you know, we can't underestimate teams like the Jaguars. We can't underestimate teams like the Titans. We have to go in and we'll go in every game expecting to lose, but playing as hard as you could to get that win. You can't go into a game expecting to win. That's how you lose. You know, maybe that's what happened in Jacksonville week 1 a little bit. But, you know, I'm really excited to see what this team has. And thank you for watching this long freaking video. You know, and I hope you guys had a great day, have a great night. I thank you guys for watching. And if you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And as always, I'll catch you next time.